What is really happening inside Ferrari? And why did Lewis Hamilton, in the middle of the race, feel that his car simply had no power while his own teammate could compete? Because what was revealed after the Japanese Grand Prix is not a simple pilot complaint. It is an alarm signal that points directly to the heart of the SF26, and that both Vasseur and Leclerc have confirmed in a way that no one expected. Hamilton finished the race completely bewildered, talking about a lack of power that he couldn't explain. Leclerc admitting that the power unit is his biggest weakness, and Ferrari trying to justify the unjustifiable with technical explanations that only make everything sound even more worrying. But here comes the really shocking thing. How is it possible that two drivers with the same car are experiencing such different performances? Stay until the end, because what is being revealed could completely change what we believed about Ferrari this season, and leaves an uncomfortable question in the air. Is this just a technical problem, or something much more serious within the team? The Japanese Grand Prix not only left an unexpected result for Ferrari, it revealed a reality that until now had been tried to be hidden behind optimistic speeches and small glimpses of performance. Because when Lewis Hamilton crossed the finish line in 6th position, what seemed like just a discrete result was actually evidence of a much deeper problem that had been brewing since the beginning of the season, but that at Suzuka finally exploded with no possibility of hiding. From the first laps, Hamilton began to notice that something was not right. It was not a subjective sensation or a poor adaptation to the car, it was something tangible. The SF26 did not have the response that he expected on the straight, it did not have that acceleration that would allow it to defend or attack, and the most worrying thing is that this lack of power did not appear at specific moments, but rather remained constant throughout the race. This completely changes the analysis, because it eliminates factors such as degradation or strategy, and points directly to a structural problem in the car's performance. But what really makes this situation critical is the context in which it occurs. Hamilton was not improvising, he was not trying strange configurations or taking risks outside of what was planned. He himself explained that he was following every team instruction to the millimeter, managing energy where he was told and pushing when he had to. That is to say, I was running the perfect race from an operational point of view, and yet the car was not responding. This detail is key, because it eliminates any doubt about human error and reveals that the problem is in the machine. This is where the second element comes in that further aggravates the situation, the direct comparison with Charles Leclerc. While Hamilton struggled to stay on pace, Leclerc did manage to extract more performance from the same car, to the point of finishing on the podium. This difference is not only striking, it is deeply worrying, because within the same team with the same car, there should not be such a clear gap in terms of available power. And it is precisely this discrepancy that begins to generate internal doubts about what is really happening with the power unit. Leclerc, far from dodging the issue, was direct in pointing out that the power unit is currently Ferrari's biggest weakness. This statement not only confirms Hamilton's feelings, but also gives official weight to the problem. It is no longer an individual perception, it is a shared diagnosis within the team. And in Formula One, when a driver publicly acknowledges a technical weakness of this level, it is because the problem is obvious enough that it cannot be hidden. From here on, the story changes completely. Ferrari is no longer a team that is adjusting details, to become a team that faces a clear limitation compared to its direct rivals. Because in an era where hybrid management and energy efficiency are decisive, having a power unit that does not deliver what is necessary or does not do so consistently means being at a disadvantage in every straight line, in every defense, and in every overtaking attempt. And the most disturbing thing of all is that this problem does not seem to be something specific to Japan, but rather the consequence of a trend that had already been insinuated since previous races, where Ferrari showed difficulties in maintaining the pace in long stints or in responding at key moments. Suzuka was simply the stage where all those signs aligned to show the true magnitude of the problem. This is the point where the story stops being a technical analysis and becomes an unfolding crisis. Because when a driver like Hamilton does not understand what is happening, when Leclerc confirms the weakness, and when the performance on the track backs up those statements, Ferrari can no longer hide behind excuses. She is forced to face a reality that can define the course of her entire season. And this is where everything begins to become even more complex. Because when Ferrari tries to explain what happened instead of reassuring, it ends up confirming that the problem is even deeper than it initially seemed. Fred Vasseur appears before the media with a speech that, on the surface, tries to remain calm, talking about there being room for improvement and rescuing Leclerc's result as something positive. But if analyzed in detail, that message does not fit with what we really saw on the track or with what the drivers themselves are saying. Because while the team leader tries to sustain a narrative of progress, behind-the-scenes technical explanations begin to appear that reveal a critical limitation in the car's operation. And this is where the key concept that changes everything comes in: the energy management system and the famous overtake mode. Vasseur suggests that Ferrari is working with a system that depends on certain proximity thresholds. That is, the car only releases its full electrical potential when certain conditions are met with respect to the car in front. This, which in theory should be a strategic tool, in practice becomes a trap. Because if the pilot loses that range by a few tenths, the system automatically reduces the delivery of electrical power, leaving him completely vulnerable. And this perfectly explains what Hamilton experienced during the race. He couldn't get close enough to activate the car's full potential, but at the same time he didn't have the power necessary to close that distance. It is a vicious circle that is practically impossible to get out of under normal racing conditions. This transforms Ferrari's problem into something much more serious than a simple lack of power. It is no longer just that the engine is not performing enough, it is also that the system that should compensate for this lack is limiting the pilot even more in the most critical moments. That is to say, Ferrari is not only behind, it is trapped in its own system. And this is where the difference between Hamilton and Leclerc takes on new meaning. Because if this system depends so much on the position on the track, the driver's management, and how each phase of the race is executed, then small differences in driving style, positioning, or even strategy can generate big differences in the final performance. This could explain why Leclerc managed to maximize the car at certain moments, while Hamilton was completely blocked without the ability to respond. But this opens up an even more uncomfortable question. Is Ferrari delivering a car that is extremely sensitive to specific conditions and that outside that ideal range simply becomes ineffective? Because if the answer is yes, then the problem is not just technical, it is conceptual. It means that the SF26 does not have a wide operating window, but instead depends on too many variables to perform correctly. And in today's Formula One, where every detail counts and every situation changes in a matter of seconds, that is a huge disadvantage. Furthermore, this type of limitation has a direct impact on the pilot's confidence. Because when you know that your car can stop responding simply by losing a few tenths compared to the car in front, you begin to drive conditioned, without being able to attack freely, without being able to take risks when necessary. And that, in a sport where precision and controlled aggression are everything, is devastating. That's why Hamilton's words are not just a complaint, they are a clear sign of disconnection between the driver and the machine. And when that happens, when a driver of his level feels that he can't extract anything more from the car, the problem is no longer solvable in the short term. Ferrari, at this point, not only has to find power, it has to redefine how it delivers it, how it manages it, and how it allows its drivers to use it in the race. Because otherwise, what happened in Japan will not be an exception. It will be the norm. Because when you put all the pieces together, Hamilton's statements, Leclerc's confirmation, and Vasseur's technical explanation, what appears is not an isolated problem, it is a pattern that threatens to repeat itself race after race if it is not corrected at the root. And in today's Formula One, where the differences between teams are minimal, a deficit like this cannot be recovered with small adjustments. It requires a profound solution that is not always possible to apply in the middle of the season. This is where the situation becomes really dangerous for Ferrari. Because while other teams continue to evolve, optimize, and find performance, Ferrari is forced to invest time and resources in understanding a problem that they have not even fully identified. And that means one thing: they are losing ground. But there is something even more delicate: the internal impact that this can generate. Because Hamilton is not just any driver, he is a 7-time world champion who has come to Ferrari with the expectation of fighting for victories, not of questioning the basic functioning of the car. And when a driver of his caliber begins to publicly express that he doesn't understand what is happening, that reflects a lack of confidence that can escalate quickly if not addressed. This is key because the pilot-team relationship at this point is fundamental. If Hamilton begins to lose confidence in the tool he has, his performance may be affected. But more importantly, the Ferrari 2026 project may begin to generate internal doubts. And that, in such a competitive environment, is a huge risk. On the other hand, Leclerc is also in a complex position. Yes, it managed to maximize the result in Japan, but at the same time it is confirming that the car has a structural weakness. That is to say, even on its best days, Ferrari is not competing on a level playing field. And that limits any real aspiration for the title. So the big question is no longer what happened in Japan. The real question is what is going to happen from now on. Because if Ferrari cannot solve this problem of power and, above all, energy management, each race is going to become a repetition of the same script. A car that promises, drivers who try to maximize it, and a reality that stops them at the most important moment. And this is where all this takes on an even greater dimension, because what we are seeing could be just the beginning of something bigger. A technical crisis that not only affects the present, but can compromise the future development of the team in an era where every decision counts. Ferrari is at a crossroads, and Japan has been the clearest sign that the margin for error no longer exists. And so we come to the conclusion of all this. A conclusion that, far from closing the topic, opens up one of the biggest unknowns of the entire season. Because what Ferrari showed in Japan is not simply another weakness within the car, it is a clear sign that there is something that is not working at the very basis of the project. The lack of power that Hamilton suffered, Leclerc's direct confirmation, and Vasseur's technical explanation are not isolated pieces. They are parts of the same problem that points directly to the heart of the SF26. The final question is inevitable. Is Ferrari in time to correct this failure? Or are we seeing the beginning of a crisis that could mark its entire season? Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.